you want to be able to make amazing, beautiful, soft naan breads like these that are absolutely gorgeous and soft and great for making into wraps, having with curries, and are just beautiful and soft at home, completely dairy free. Stay tuned and find out how. So the ingredients we're going to need for this dairy-free naan bread, we're going to use 500 grams of plain flour, 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt, but any salt will do. 3 tablespoons of oil. I'm just using vegetable oil. I've got 250 ml of warm water or lukewarm water. We probably won't use all of it, but we'll have it there just in case and see how much we need to use to make the dough. And then we'll be using 3 good tablespoons of plant-based, soya-based yogurt. You can use the plain Greek style, or this is the plain natural style yogurt. Either will do. So let's get cracking. First thing we're going to do is add our flour to a large mixing bowl. This will make somewhere in the region of about 8 to 10 naan breads. You can always divide the dough in half and just use half of it and put the other half in the fridge if you don't want to make that many all at once. Let's add all the dry ingredients, the bicarbonate of soda, the baking powder, and the salt. Get a large spoon and we'll just mix those dry ingredients first to get them well combined. Okay, into that now I'm going to make a little well just in the center here, and I'm going to add in the oil. Get that all in there, and we're going to put in our plant-based yogurt. I would avoid using any coconut-based yogurt, so we put 3 of these in. 1, 2, 3. In fact, let's be a bit more generous. Let's add 4. There we go. Breaking the rules already. There we go. Let's mix that together first to start getting that oil and that yogurt into the flour and the dry ingredients. You just chat amongst yourselves for a little while. Put that to a sort of crumbly mixture now. We've well combined that yogurt and that oil in here. As you can see, it's forming sort of coarse, lumpy breadcrumbs. There we go. Now we're going to start slowly adding the water and just see how much we need. If you overdo it and you get too much water in, that's fine. I've got some more flour on standby. You can just add a bit of extra flour if you need to. But we want to try and combine this into a nice, light, springy dough ball. We don't want it too dry, but neither do we want it excessively sticky because it becomes really hard to work with then. A little dry. I'm going to need a little bit extra water just to bring this together, I think, but not too much. That might be a bit too much, we'll see. Yep, again, we're just going to need a little bit more water, not too much now, we're getting close. There we go, you see that's now coming together into a tight ball. A little bit sticky on the outside, but that's okay, we'll keep working it. And we can just get our hands in and just work the dough to make sure it's nice and moist. So we might want a little bit of extra flour now because it's starting to get a little sticky. I usually add a little bit too much water. Yeah, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra flour. Just sprinkle some in. There we go, just give it a little knead. Move it around just to make sure all that flour gets well hydrated. Now what we're just going to do is put a little bit of this oil on my hands. And we're just going to coat the dough ball, a little bit in the bottom of the bowl there, not too much. Rub it around. There, and we're just going to cover that and leave it to stand, preferably in the fridge. It's quite warm here today, so we pop it in the fridge. If it was a cool day, we'd leave it out, but just cover that, leave that for about half an hour, and we'll come back. Okay, so here's our dough ball ready after it's been resting for about half an hour. Pop that to one side. Now we're going to divide it up and roll it out, but we'll just put a little bit of flour across our board. There we go. And I'm not going to use all of this for now. I'm going to save some of it, so we're just going to divide it roughly in half like that. There we go. And I'll pop half back to go in the fridge. I'll just work this into shape, tucking it under. See, it's nice and squidgy, which is what we want. We want a nice hydrated dough. That's what leaving it for half an hour helps us to do, is get that dough nice and springy, and the oil and the yogurt also help with that. I think we can get 4 decent sized naan breads out of that. So if we just divide it in half and divide it in half again, there we go. And we'll just work with one of these for the time being. Bit of flour, shape it into a ball. Now this is where I have to admit my rolling out isn't the best. I'm just using one of these thin rolling pins. I find they're a lot more helpful when you're doing naan breads and chapatis and things like that. And we just want to roll it out any shape you want. You can go for a round, oblong, more traditional teardrop shape, but you want to get it reasonably thin. Thickness on there, that's 2 to 3 mil in thickness. Thereabouts, just give it another little roll. You can see it's quite springy and stretching back. Is we'll just pop this one onto a plate and we'll roll another one to prepare. There we go. Just unfurl that. A little bit of flour just to make sure they don't stick together. Shape that into a ball. Flatten it out. Notice I'm not using excessive amounts of flour. You can actually do this with oil if you wish instead of flour to keep it lubricated, but we're going with the flour for today. Okay, my pan on high, I'm using a ceramic hob, and we're just using a normal dry, preferably non-stick. This one I think is Kitchen Craft pan, and we just want to make sure that's nice and hot. I'm just going to use some of this dairy-free butter type spread. And we're going to melt it ever so slightly for about 20 seconds in the microwave. We've melted our butter. I say you can use vegetable ghee if you wish. We have a brush and we'll use that as we go along. Okay, that seems like it's hot enough, so let's take our first one. that we prepared. Try and shake off the excess flour, and we're just going to plop it in there. Press it down, be really careful because this is hot. And we're just going to leave that until we start to see it bubble. See, it's starting to puff up now because of the bicarbonate, etc. we popped in. Let's just have a quick look at the underside. We'll give it a little bit longer. Just press it down gently. See, even though we rolled it out quite thin, there we go. Flip it over, and now while it's flipped over, we'll take some of this. Be careful, it might be hot. And we're just going to brush the back with a little bit of this non-dairy butter-like spread. Like I say, vegetable ghee would be great. I've not been able to get hold of any locally at the moment. That'll just help it to really soak in. But we make do with what we have. Flip it over for a second. If you want to be a little extravagant, brush the other side. You don't need a huge amount, but just something to give it that slightly nutty taste. Flip it back, look at that. And there we are. One beautiful, hot, fresh, nice thin naan bread. If you want them a little bit thicker, roll them out a little bit thicker. It's absolutely fine. A bit hotter. The smell here, folks, it's absolutely delicious. Let's just plate that one up as well. Let's turn off our heat for the time being. Move that to the back. And let's go and cut these open and have a taste. Look at these amazing naan breads that we've just cut. Look how beautiful, soft they rip and how tender they are. That is absolutely better than anything you'll make in a shop. Absolutely gorgeous. So if you've enjoyed this today, please consider subscribing. Hit like, ring the notification bell, check the links in the description, see how to make our amazing chicken tikka that's dairy free to go with these, or our chicken tikka masala. And we also have a great coriander mint dip, also dairy free. And stick around, keep watching the channel because we're going to be bringing more great food that's all going to be dairy free. Thanks for watching. I've been the Dairy Free Food Fella. See you next time.